G'day everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to have a look at the new Godox MS300 Studio Flash, right after this. So first of all, to be completely transparent, I was sent this unit, but I'm not being paid to make this video. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's have a look at the unit itself and run through its features. So starting with the front of the unit, we do have a little slider here that we can take our protective cap off, so it ships with that protective cap. And in the front you can see the modelling lamp, which just screws in. It's an Edison screw. And we've got the flash tube sitting around there. So the modelling lamps are quite easily replaceable. So the other thing you'll notice straight up is we've got a metal mount, which is really good. So it's going to handle some heavier modifiers. Some of the cheaper units that I've come across, this mount is actually plastic. So if you're putting heavier modifiers on, there's a chance that you might break the actual mount. So this flash does only cost $109 US, so I wasn't really expecting a lot from it. And I must say that I was pleasantly surprised when I received it and saw just how well it was built for the price. A couple of little things that are kind of annoying is the ratchet to adjust here is a little bit clicky, but once that's done up nice and tight, it's pretty solid. It's not going to move too far unless you've got a really heavy modifier mounted on there. On this side, we do have an umbrella mount as well, just in under here. You can see that hole through there, so the umbrella will just slide through there and stick out the other end. We've got some ventilation on the sides of the unit. I haven't had a chance to run this too hard yet, so I haven't had any worries with it overheating or anything like that. But with the ventilation and being only 300 watt-seconds, I don't think it's going to overheat anytime soon. Nice little carry handle on the top, and the unit is pretty lightweight. So if you're traveling about, a few of these little units in a bag, it's not going to weigh very much at all. 300 watt-seconds I find is also pretty powerful, especially if you're doing normal portraiture sort of work. It's plenty powerful enough, especially in a small space. They do also make a MS200, which is the 200 watt-second version, and that's a little bit cheaper, but honestly I think for the price difference you're better off just sticking with the 300. Gives you that little bit of extra power in case you need it. Okay, looking at the back of the unit now. So if we go through from left to right on the unit, the first button we see is the group and channel button. If we press that once, that'll get us into the groups. If you keep pressing that button, it will scroll through the group numbers up to 9, and then through A, B, C, D, E, and F. You can also use the jog wheel to scroll through. Once you've selected the group you want, you can just press in that button there and that will confirm the group. Now to get into the channels, all you need to do is hold that button in until the little channel starts flashing, and again just scroll through, and you've got one right through to 32. Below the group and channel button there is a sync port, so if you're using a traditional sync cable to your camera, that option is there. Next to that is a port that looks like a USB port, and that is for external syncing as well, if you've got a remote receiver that can plug into that. Above that we've got the S1 and S2 button, and that is the slave options. So with nothing showing there, it's just in its normal default wireless slave option. But at S1, we can now trigger that flash unit from another flash. If we select S2, that's when you're using it in conjunction with a speed light. So it ignores the pre-flash that a normal speed light would do in TTL mode, and will only fire on the main flash from the speed light. Now in the middle here we've got our little audio indicator. So that's our beep confirmation button. It's either on or off, there's no other option. So I prefer to have that off because I don't like to hear it beep every time the flash fires. And next one along is our modeling light. So it's currently in the off position. If we change that to the next one, which is proportional, it will get brighter as we turn the power of the flash up, right up to full power. So the next modeling option is 100%. So that will stay at 100% regardless of the power of the flash. Now obviously you've just noticed that as I turn this dial, our power changes. So the OF position is an off position. So if I press the flash trigger button, nothing happens. If I turn it a little bit to the right, it goes to 132 power, which is the minimum power. And that's the minimum power output there. So one great thing about this unit is that it actually will adjust in tenths of a stop. So you can see that changing. Every little click is 1/10 of a stop, right up to full power. So you'll see as I reduce the power, the test button is flashing. So it doesn't have an auto dump feature, as far as I can tell. So you do have to press the button and dump the flash, dump the capacitor, and then it will reset to the value that you've set there. So again, as I just turn down to minimum power, it's telling me it needs to dump. Press that. Once it recycles, it sticks to its 132 power. Obviously the other main button we've got there is the on-off switch. So that is a hard switch, which is great, meaning that you can actually just turn it off at the wall. And so if you've got the flash mounted on a boom in a higher position, you don't have to physically get to the unit to turn it on. So if you already have some Godox units, you've probably got one of these triggers or something very similar. This is the X Pro trigger, which I have for my Fuji. And this will work in no problem at all with this MS300 unit. As you can see, as I'm adjusting the power setting on the remote, it's changing on the unit itself. So one thing to be aware of though is even though the unit will only go to 132 power, the remote will show that it's going down to 128, but the unit itself obviously cannot go below 132. So all you need to do is make sure it's on the same group and channel as the unit itself, and they will match up perfectly. So far I've done one shoot with this unit just as a single light setup, doing some headshots, typical sort of portrait situation. So here's that behind the scenes and a little bit of discussion as I'm shooting. So have a look at that and I'll come back to you with my final thoughts on this unit. All right, so I'm just gonna do some simple portraits with the MS300. I've put the aperture light dome in front of it because I don't have a lot of Bowens mount accessories because I'm mostly an Electron shooter. But the light dome from my Aperture 120D is one of my favorite light shapers. So I know what that can produce. So I thought if I put that on front of the Godox MS300, I can get a pretty good idea of how it works. It's a really nice soft light. And we're just gonna shoot some simple headshots against the white wall, which is gonna go a little bit gray, and that's perfect for the look that I'm after. So let's do some shots and I'll pop them up on screen so you can have a look. I'm gonna come in for a really tight shot, so just hands down. Yep, just bring your chin around a little bit more. That's it, perfect. Great. Might just try moving this around to the side just to get a little bit of shape to the light now. Yep, you can stay in the same spot. So I'm going to feather it across the front a little bit so we haven't got as much light hitting the background. Yep. No, just stay facing that way with your body, but bring your head back to your shoulders. That's it. Cool. Yep, that's really pretty. And we do have a white wall kind of just here, so it's bouncing some light back in. But it's got some nice shape to it now, that light. Yep, that's good. Yeah, great. Just do a couple more horizontal ones. So I'm shooting on the Fuji X-T2 with the 56mm 1.2, and in terms of exposure I'm just at 200 ISO, and I've got the Godox MS300 set to 1/16 power, so that's giving me an aperture of f4, which is, you know, quite fine for this kind of headshot, especially on an APS-C size sensor. So I don't need to push the light any higher than that. At 1/16 power, it can keep up with the speed in recycle that I'm used to shooting at, so that's fine. And I'm just going to do a couple of shots now, pushing the power right up, and just see what aperture I need to shoot at. So I'm going to go to full power. I'm going to stop down to f11 and just see what that gives us. Yep, that's pretty close. Probably f13 I think is going to be the correct exposure. Yeah, f13. Let's just check what the recycling speed's like. Yeah, that's holding up really, really well. Shooting fairly rapidly there, not talking like motor drive rapid, but plenty fast enough to capture some good portraits with some reasonable movement between the different poses without sort of stressing the flash too much, even at full power. So that's really, really good. Probably one of the downsides to this light is it actually only goes down to 132 power. So I'm just going to see at that distance how shallow I can get the aperture. So if you're trying to shoot some really shallow depth of field work, this light may not get low enough power, but let's just have a look. Keeping it at 200 ISO, and I've dropped it to 132 power, so it's probably going to be around f2.8, I'd say. Just bring your arms in, that's good. Yeah, that's perfect exposure. So f2.8 at 132 power is the correct exposure at 200 ISO for this setup with that distance. So if you were wanting to shoot 1.4 or 1.2, you'd have to either take the light further away, which is going to reduce the softness of light, or put a neutral density or polarizing filter in front of the lens just to cut some light down. So I guess, you know, flashes in a higher price bracket are going to let you go down to say 128th power, which is going to allow you to shoot at those really shallow depth of fields. All right, let's jump in and I'll talk about my final thoughts on this flash. So there you go, there's a little look at using the Godox MS300 in a single light portrait setup. I guess at the end of the day, a flash is a flash, so quality of the light is also going to be reliant more so on the modifier that you place in front of it. So in this case, I used a nice big soft light dome, so that's going to produce some really beautiful soft light. Just moving it off to the side gave us a little bit more direction to the light and a little bit more shape to the light wrapping around Sylph's body. But in terms of the features of the Godox itself, I think it's got everything you need in a basic studio flash. If you've already got some of the Godox battery operated units like the 8200, 8400 or 8600, this might be a really great option to add to your kit for a very low cost studio option. Obviously you can use those battery operated units in a studio, but something that I really find quite valuable is having a good modeling light. I do prefer to shoot in the studio where it's fairly dark, using a modeling light so I can see exactly where that light is falling. So on the battery units, you're restricted with a fairly low power LED modeling light, and they do chew through the battery fairly quickly. Obviously on the AD600 and I think the AD400, you can get AC adapters for them to replace the battery, so you can use them in the studio. But for the price of one of those adapters, you could actually buy one of these units. So my final conclusion for my first impression of this unit, it's very positive. I think it's a really well-made unit for the price, and I don't think I've got any hesitation in recommending that you go out and buy one. So if you are interested in picking up one of these units, there's a link in the description below, which is to a very good price on an Amazon store, so check that out. If you've already got one of these or you're thinking about buying one, comment below. Got any more questions, please jump in and ask away. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this style of review video, please subscribe and comment below saying you'd love to see more, and I'll see what I can do about getting some additional products. Thanks again for watching, and until I see you in the next video, ciao for now.